The only problem with Santino and Andy is this podcast. Well, welcome back to your favorite podcast about movies and for movies.
Yeah,
Made
only movies are allowed to listen to this.
so welcome to all our favorite movies. I'm Andy Matsky,
I'm Santino Vitale.
and we are best friends. And we are here to talk to you about the 1982 question mark 1982 film, The Thing. But before we do that, how you doing, Santino? How are things?
Things are good. Things are great. Things are wonderful. Things are moving and shaking. I'm a guy on the planet trying to do the things that all the people on the planet do, but I've been doing mine extra squirfy lately because
Awesome.
we've had we've had momentum.
Yeah, there's been momentum. We mentioned you and I were working on a project for something
Mhm.
that you're working on. Do you want to give a vague update on that?
I want to give a super vague update. So the thing we were working on is it's working. Now, I
Awesome.
want to give a slightly less vague update and say,
I only say vague because the first time I was like, "Hey, should we talk about this on the show?" Santino was like, "Yeah, we can vaguely mention it." And
yeah,
so
yeah.
now in my mind, it's like we can only allude to what's going on. We can't really talk about it for whatever reason, like for
Yeah,
some purpose.
for
Yeah.
reasons as yet disclosed to the audience. So yeah, so we made a proof of concept for a feature film back in September. It's been edited, it's been corrected, it's been put online privately, and we've been working on a campaign to start raising money, and we have some of our first monies, as the young people like to say, coming in. So that's real exciting. I talked to some people, which I'll tell you about this later, Andy, off the air, but I talked to some people that you and I both know who may be contributing to this raise. So it's gonna be fun. Bring the kids, bring the grandparents, bring the colostomy bag, just bring everybody down. It's gonna be a real hoot and a holler for all you on the East Coast.
I don't know why that just got me. For people who can only listen to this show, what Santino just saw was me holding and dying laughing because Bring 'Em All Down sounded really funny. If there's a way, as soon as we're able to publicly share
Yeah,
stuff for the four of you who listen to this, we will
yeah,
do that. It's because of the way the funding site works, correct?
yeah.
So
There's a
it's
lot of red tape,
yeah.
and I
So
don't want to get in trouble with Uncle Sam. So
yeah. So once the red tape can be removed, we'll remove it. Yeah, as soon as there's stuff there, and if you're following like me on social media, the second that stuff's public, I'll probably have it shared there as well, or Santino for that matter. I don't know why I was the sole ambassador of social media, but who
it
knows?
works.
So this week we are talking about John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a classic horror movie. Some people would say one of the best horror movies of all time. A
Sci-fi horror for
sci-fi
you
horror.
sci-fi nerds out there as well. It's very sci-fi.
And the IMDb summary, and you can go into more detail if you'd like. The IMDb summary is a research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims. Bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum.
And honestly, that's already probably more information than any audience member needs because if a person can go into this movie completely blind, they are most rewarded. I actually, and this is a completely unrelated plug to our show, but there's a show I personally like a lot. So for the four people that listen to our show, go check out She's Scared on YouTube. Caitlin Marie does video reactions to horror movies. And she just did a reaction to the thing last week.
Oh
Like
wow.
right after I assigned you to watch it, like 2 days later, she put up a reaction. And somehow she had never seen or heard anything about the movie. She didn't even know it was sci-fi, didn't know it was aliens, nothing. So every twist and turn was like a massive revelation.
Yeah, spoiler warning,
Yeah.
because we don't always remember to do that, even though I think when we're talking about movies like Creature from Black Lake or some of the B movies, I don't think people mind as much, but
No.
still, spoiler warning and like thorough spoiler warning. I will start off by saying, and I don't know if I alluded to all this, I knew a good deal about this movie
Hmm.
already, including like a vague clue of the ending,
Mhm. Yeah, you
but
knew too much, I think.
but I still like I don't think that affected my viewing of the movie much. I think it might have in some ways that I'm still trying to like pull apart, but I don't think it ruined the movie. I think, initial thing that I want to point out is that this really is like sci-fi horror, which I don't think I was expecting, even though
Hmm.
I knew what I knew and had seen what I had seen. Um, the fact that this movie starts with like a starry sky and then a UFO coming out and like crashing, that immediately caught me off guard. Like going, okay, I don't actually know what I'm about to watch.
Right.
And so that was like a very interesting start. I wish you could have seen me for that because I was like, I mean, I don't know if visibly I was like, what? But if you could see into my mind when I was watching the movie, I was immediately intrigued by that. And then I think for the next 20 or so minutes, I was in between like interested and I'll say it, almost bored with the
Hmm.
movie. It's a very slow start. I think it would be generous to call it a slow burn. And part of this too is I think I had the realization that I was like, I'm kind of bored. I mean, I
Hmm.
know I don't it doesn't need to all be interesting from the start, but I'm kind of bored. But Santino called Godzilla boring, and
Hmm.
if we can call Godzilla boring, this movie so far is boring. Like, and maybe that's on like purposeful, but I think like the whole dog arc up until it gets into the cage
Hmm.
like could be condensed
Oh, sure.
so much. And then they go to the the Norwegian camp. And here's the thing. I will put this out on face value. I don't know if I liked this movie or not. This is like, and I was talking about this with people at work today, is and I think they were starting they we're learning about each other. The people I work with, we're getting to know each other. They're learning I'm a hater who doesn't like being a hater. And so whenever I don't like something, I have
Mhm.
to like really process it. And
Mhm.
so like or if I don't love something, how about I put it that way? Like I have to like really think about it and I don't like say too much. And I'm really like sure like this happened when I saw Superman. If you're a fan of Bizarre Sunday, we talked about Superman over there. And my review on Bizarre Sunday is like me coming off of the like thinking about it and being like, yeah, I don't really like this movie. With that
Mhm.
then that kind of got retconned by watching it again. So I watched this movie like 1.5 times because I watched part of it again today because I was
Okay.
like, I'm gonna give this movie a shot. Because I told you what I texted you was I
Mhm.
might have been in the wrong mood to watch this movie,
Yeah.
which is I don't, to give you a peek into my personal life, you and the audience at home. I don't think there's like not anything going on. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like I just found out my dog died and then I went to watch this movie.
And there's a dog and they're shooting
Yeah,
at it.
it
Yeah.
there was nothing like that. There really wasn't. It just was like I sat down to watch it. I did it. I gave it its credit, and
Mhm.
I did my thing, and I kind of removed contact from the world. I sat down in the dark room. It was later in the
Mhm.
evening, and I just kind of was like, okay, this is the movie. Kind of for like the whole thing. There's a couple moments that are different than that, and we'll process my emotions with this together. But I still think I'm in the and this is showing my hand early, but like where I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of this movie.
If you have to ask that, then you're not. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert for the audience. Andy's going to hate this movie. So just so that everybody knows what's going on is so the movie starts. Alien ship crash lands, and then the next thing we see is this Antarctic research team. And basically, you see a dog running through the snow inexplicably. And also inexplicably, there's like these Norwegians in a helicopter trying to kill it, and they're shooting at it. And then they land and they try to shoot the dog, and they're like blowing stuff up. And so then the Americans fire back and kill them, and then they take the dog in. And as they investigate, they realize that the entire Norwegian camp is like burned down,
Yeah, and
as is the.
part of what happens when this dog shows up is the
Mhm.
Norwegians land their helicopter and they're by this time they're throwing like grenades at it.
Yep.
And one of the grenades slips out of one of the Norwegians' hands and blows up him and the helicopter
Yeah,
along with it. And then there's one more Norwegian chasing after the dog who shoots one of the crew members, the
in the
American
leg.
crew
Yeah.
members, in the leg. And then they shoot him. And
Yep.
the movie is kind of like, oh, that happened.
Mhm.
So that's part of this. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, no, so that's what happens. So you set up the mystery immediately. You're like, why are they shooting at this dog? What does the dog have to do with anything? Who are these people? And then they get in their helicopter and they go and they find that the whole Norwegian camp has been burned down. And everybody who was in it who hasn't been burned has committed suicide or have burned each other. And then they find this big block of ice that something is apparently thawed out of. And then they go out and they find this pile of bodies in the fire. And in that pile of bodies is one particularly twisted body that has been duplicated and has two faces, and there's all this weird crap going on. So they take it back with them to their base. And from there, things just keep getting weirder until eventually they put the dog in the kennel with the other dogs. And then that's when that's when it
Yeah.
goes off, you know.
And that's when this movie like hits its stride,
Yeah.
which like, and I'll say this initially, and then we can get into detail about it more later. The
Hmm.
visual effects in this movie are absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Any gripe I have with this movie is not with them at
Right.
all. So they are absolutely impeccable, and I think I don't know how they could be much better, and they're just great.
Hmm.
They're if I was telling my dad that I think this very well could be like top 10 VFX movies of all time.
For
Like
sure.
if you like make like franchises one entry, you know,
Hmm.
Star Wars would be one,
Right.
Lord of the Rings would be one. I think
Hmm.
this makes like this is just so good. And I think part of what makes it so good is it just translates so well. There's like it's just there and we can
Hmm.
talk about that more, but like you don't really have to buy into a whole lot in a really weird way. Even though they're ridiculous what you're
Hmm.
seeing. So it that really makes the movie and so there's Kurt Russell's character who we're introduced to while he's playing chess
Hmm.
against a computer and up in his shack and he's a fun character. He's a
Yeah.
great character.
Hmm. Hmm.
McGreedy, right?
R.J. McCready.
Who, I mean, we talk a lot about, well, maybe not a lot, but we talk about things being iconic
Hmm.
and how that's kind of a lot lost art these days. I think he's iconic. His look is iconic.
Hmm.
That that like cowboy hat, hoodie vibe
Hmm.
with the sunglasses, great. It's great. But I think, see, this is where the movie in within its setup loses me a little bit by the fact that a comes in. It's shooting at this dog, which is like, what's going on? And then that helicopter and one of the guys who are on it blows up,
Hmm.
and then one of our heroes question mark shoots the other one, and no one is like what the frick? There's no like frustration and there's confusion, but they're like,
Hmm.
what's going on? Like, is kind of the extent of like, I'm saying like a lot. That's the extent of the confusion or frustration. Nobody is saying, why did you shoot this one guy? Another guy just blew up. They're kind of like, oh, we got to put out the fire.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, no one's going to ask why did you shoot the other Norwegian because he just shot at one of you. So,
But
as
there's
far as you're concerned, look at it from the American's perspective. You're minding your own business. Norwegians fly in, they start to blow up your camp. They're trying to kill a dog. They shoot one of you. Take them out. They've lost their minds. Guys do this down in the Antarctic. So part of this, I think, is a bit of optics for where you're coming from. You have to understand what the characters are seeing. Because if you take it from
I
their
guess
perspective, you're going
so,
to shoot first and ask questions later.
but but there's even asking questions later.
Mhm.
There's like see like you buy into a movie, right?
Yeah. Well, so what would
And
you have liked to have seen? What would fix
any
this for you?
any like stronger emotional reaction because there is none. There
Most of these guys
there's
are military or
there's not.
scientists. So what
See, and this is
emotional
another
reaction would you
thing
want?
this is another thing the movie does. The movie, and look, I'm show don't tell
Hmm.
guy, but the movie like barely shows you anything.
Yeah, you
So
got to put it
I
together.
think this is a like a rewatchability movie,
Hmm.
and no one says that about the movie, right? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of like classics that are good from the first time,
Hmm.
and I think this is one that's like it has to grow on you. And I must just not be there yet because it's because most of these guys are military, most of these guys are tough, but still, like the biggest line in that moment is like, "Are we at war with Norway? Like,
Hmm.
what's going on?" Also, and that's like that's from the guy who was shot. That's who we get that reaction from. Like,
Hmm.
and so if you're buying into like you're trying to establish this. Here's maybe part of my point, right? You're
Hmm.
trying to establish the stakes. The
Yeah.
stakes start out at meh. There's this dog here now,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like, okay, that's weird. Like it doesn't start out with any like, are we in trouble? We need to figure out why they were here. They're like, okay, we're gonna go to their camp and now see what happens. Just like,
Well,
okay,
yeah.
let's let's figure it out. But like that's kind of like, okay, that happened. And like the movie does nothing for you to be like, oh, this is serious, even. That's it's like it's almost meant with like insincerity. It's like, oh, that happened. Let's go check
See,
it
I
out.
think, I hear you. I never had a problem with any of that. Because again, what the movie's doing is it's relying on you to be able to say, when someone blows up, when someone shoots someone else, is that serious or not? Don't rely on the characters to see
Yeah.
how serious it is. Does that look like a thing we'd need to know about? Sure. Okay, well, it's Antarctica. We got to put on all our crap. It's 30 below. Everything moves slowly here. We're going to get over to the camp when the weather's clear. Like, that's what we're going to do. There's no rushing around in Antarctica.
Well, and I just
So,
think again, like, and we're talking about a horror sci-fi movie.
mhm.
So the buy-in's already high,
Yeah.
which is fine. And I don't think I have like an issue. There's no issue with what that part of the movie is necessarily, right? It's not like, okay. But it's when it comes to the human side of it,
Hmm.
I would expect more than what it gives. And what it gives is effectively nothing in that buy-in.
Yeah. The biggest, and I'll give you this one right here. So this movie and Alien are both very similar in the sense that basically every character, if you took every character's name on the script and swapped them all up, it would make absolutely no difference because there are no characters. There are just images. RJ has the hat. That's his character. The other guy's the
Yeah.
colonel. He's the colonel. The other guy's the cook. The other guy's like the pothead. Like those are the characters. That's
And
all you're getting on the human side.
that's part of my mm, uh, and make sure you hear my whole sentence here. That's part of my
Hmm.
problem with this movie because I'm stupid, right? Like it's because I'm dumb, and there's like all these guys who most of them look alike,
Hmm.
and there's like three black guys, two black guys, three black guys, and one of them's mean, and one of them's the chef, and then there's another one, or there's two. I'm genuinely not sure. And then there's like nine other white guys,
Yeah.
and there's like Windows, who's
Hmm.
iconic, like the hair, kind
Hmm.
of an attitude. Then there's like three doctors, and again, I'm an idiot, and I really gave this movie my attention. Like, I maybe checked my phone a
Hmm.
couple times, but this wasn't a second screen movie. But there's like three doctor guys. There's two of them who are old.
Hmm.
There's the one they put out in the shack, but then there's the other one. And then there's the younger one with wire glasses.
Hmm. Fuchs.
And there's
Hmm.
McCready,
Hmm.
sorry everyone at home, and there's more characters,
Yeah. And
but
Wilford Brimley.
there's a lot, and Wilford, yeah, well, Wilford Brimley's the old guy they put out in the
Yeah, in the shack.
shack,
That's Blair.
and
Here's
it's
the thing. I
really
want
hard
to.
to keep, and like that's because I'm an idiot.
No, no,
Okay,
no, no,
this
no,
is
no, no.
not a
No,
problem
it's
with the
not. No,
movie. There's
this is because this is what I want to do. I want to level with you on this one because there are a lot of characters. And I've seen this movie probably a dozen times in as many years. And I still only really know who McCready is. I know who Fuchs is. I know who Blair is. I still am not 100% sure what Keith David's character's name is. So he's Keith David to me. And then I know Windows. So that's not really your fault. And like I said, this movie, just like Alien
yeah,
and like a
there's like
lot of movies before it, the characters aren't characters. They're just people. They're just bodies, pieces of meat that you move around the screen.
so maybe this is yes, that's true. Well, I'll use that as evidence for something later that
Yeah,
I
I
said.
agree with you. There are no real characterizations, and good luck keeping everybody straight. I'll give you
And
that.
so yeah, and so it's on viewing one and a half. It's
Hmm.
still like what's even going on?
Who are you people?
Yeah, like I'm just like, okay, keep saying all these names.
Hmm.
You're doing this. You're okay.
Yeah.
That guy's clearly dead. That's
Hmm.
this is happening.
Oh, and then Clark.
Here,
Clark's the dog
yeah,
guy, the big dumb dog guy.
yeah. Oh yeah, there's him. Yeah.
Hmm.
What this movie does really well, and this is maybe my best spin on the whole thing,
Hmm.
is it creates a blank canvas, which maybe even creating a blank canvas is a little oxymoronic, but it does a good job of setting the scene for the audience. See, and this is even what you were saying, the audience to then fill in
Yeah.
everything else. Does a maybe even saying really good job doesn't exactly reflect how I feel. It does a good job of
Hmm.
creating a blank canvas for you to like project on the movie what you want to see. And that's like, and it's got good visual effects,
Hmm.
and that's it. The story and like the execution of it, I feel like is a really good premise. I really like it. Again, like the buy-in of a chameleon-like organism creature is cool. I
Hmm.
like that. No prob not no like, well, actually, none of that. The premise is good, but I feel like the actual execution story is like a really good first draft of an idea. And actually what they did is not, I don't know. Like, and there's certain parts of it that I feel like could have, and this is where I hate when I feel this way. See, I'm a hater and I don't like that about myself.
Just let the hate out, Andy. Just let the hate
That I
out.
feel like they could have, if you tweaked things a bit,
Hmm.
could have been done, like would have made the movie very different and probably would have made me like it more. First and foremost, and it was kind of the big thing that like did never sat well with me, was that first shot of the UFO because it sets up kind of like this sci-fi movie that then
Hmm.
we never really get. I mean, there's the monster, and that's crazy sci-fi, but there's no other elements. And what it felt like as the movie went on, and I'm pretty sure this just isn't true, what it felt like that shot felt like as I thought like watched the movie more and more was studio involvement going, we need some sort of action early on. And John Carpenter went, okay, I'm going to use this shot. Because if you had waited and the reveal of the UFO would have been on that little TV
Hmm.
and like they're like the Norwegians, you're finding out more and more, that would have been so cool. Like like the, and you know
Hmm.
me. I'm a sucker for like found footagey
Yeah.
sci-fi horror. So like that could have been your like you get little glimpses and then they go and they find the thing and it's like, oh my goodness, you could have made that a bigger moment.
Hmm.
Another place where the movie there's aliens and nobody cares except they reference like Chariots of the Gods.
Hmm.
Another point where the movie like is like, okay, we need to buy into this and everyone's like, okay, that's what it is. And it's like there's no this shifts your worldview moments. We have this entourage of people, and nobody is like, oh man, like covering their face, having a moment. It's like, okay, there's aliens and we found a UFO in the
Yeah.
ice. And even like even in the delivery of the line when they're at the UFO of like, and I think I wrote it down. I think I wrote it down. Stall for time while I struggle to unlock my iPhone. I say it's 100,000 years old at least.
Hmm.
Is like the
Yeah.
delivery of the line. Like you could have made that part of the movie a little more impactful,
Hmm.
and they just don't.
Yeah.
They don't. It's like, and UFO, oh, it's an alien. Okay. So this is what leads me to say, I think this movie, you could maybe say this is like the best B monster movie ever. Or like B horror movie. If you're gonna insist that this is like some crazy good thing, that's the category in which it belongs. It belongs in like, because it is. I know. It's a remake of uh
Thing from another world.
yeah, Thing from
Yeah.
Another World, like a true B movie of all B movies. It's based more on the story. See, like I looked in a little bit to this
Yeah.
movie because I wanted to understand very much. Like I want to understand what
Mm.
people liked about this movie. And it's like
See
this.
that sentence right there is all the listeners need to know. You hate it, and that's okay. But you're taking it out on anyone who likes the movie. What did people see in the
Well,
movie?
no,
No,
like
no, no, no.
what like
So
that
here's
is like
allow
yeah.
me to retort a little bit. I'm not going to talk you out of this, by the way. I'm fully on board with the fact that you like what you like and not the parts that you didn't like. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
I will agree also. So the two things you point out here that I think are really, really salient points is one, all the characters are just paper. They're just, this is the
Yeah.
guy who's high. This is the black guy, and this is the other black guy, but you can differentiate him from the other one because he's the cook. Like, one,
Well,
that is a
yeah.
problem. But two, what we do have to understand is that that was pretty much how a lot of these kind of movies were in the 70s and 80s. Like that's how Alien was, that's how Aliens is, that's how a lot of things go. When you have that big of a cast of characters and it's action oriented, they never gave any time, for better or worse, they never gave any time to characterization. So that's standard, unfortunate, but standard. The other thing about the UFO at the beginning, I agree, is completely superfluous, and it kind of undercuts the big reveal of, hey, this thing's an alien, and it
It a
came from a
hundred percent
UFO.
undercuts.
Yeah,
It doesn't kind of. It
yeah,
undercuts. And
it
here's
undercuts
the
it.
whole boring first 30 minutes of the movie.
Okay,
Like it
so
completely undercuts it.
it undercuts it. So that needs to go, basically. Now, in terms of the idea that I think part of the disconnect you're having is either character motivation or character emotion. Again, number one, these people aren't characters, so you can't expect them to do anything when they're not characters. They're not going to do much. And also, if you wanted them to be a little more, you know, impressed or dumbfounded or shaken in their worldview by the time they see this reveal. You have to remember at what point in the story this is. This happens after the dog, after a bunch of stuff's already happened. So at this point, you've already seen a body that's morphed and mutated. It's like that was the point at which you went, holy crap, what is that? By the time you're
But they
seeing the
don't do.
video,
There's never a
you
moment
also have
like
to remember
that.
these are scientists. They're there to discover things. You see this, you go, wow, all right. Wilford Brimley's
Well,
like,
yeah,
this
and
is
I
the thing,
expect
and
that
it
with like the
yeah,
body, right?
it
It's like,
it it
okay, what
duplicates stuff
is
and it's
there?
going to do
Yeah.
that, and you're like, all right, and then you discover the UFO, and you're like, all right, it's a UFO. Again, I never took any issue with that. I'd say you're definitely in the minority there, but perception is perception. So, how would you then go about fixing these issues without either adding to your runtime or removing or adding additional characters? What's the minimum
Well, if
amount that you
okay,
think you
so if
could
I
do to that scene that would help it? Is it just
what's
like a
your
dialogue tweak? That scene in particular with the reveal of the UFO. Is it like a
I
dialogue
think
tweak we could do, or like what could we do that would make that scene work for you in the
I
least
think
amount of time possible?
probably without having, and this might sound so pretentious, without having the script directly in front of me,
Mhm.
all I'd say is probably like the way the line was delivered,
Yeah, you just
or
want
like the
more
the the
from
action,
them.
the like
Mhm.
the reaction of the character. Because you said this movie's action oriented, and I kind of want to push back on that. It is, and again, No issue with the visual
Right.
effects whatsoever.
Well, no, I said movies like this that are action
Yeah,
oriented. This movie is actually kind of a half and half. It's a
because it's
lot of mystery and then action, and then a lot of mystery and then action. The whole point of it is to confuse and to
and
get you in a place of suspense. Right.
there's suspense, but about and here's maybe like here's my disconnect. Here's my
Mhm.
monkey brain disconnect. There's disconnect between suspense and paper characters we don't care about.
Right.
So it's
Yeah,
like, who cares?
right.
So it's like, with the exception of McGreedy,
Mhm.
who the movie does a good job of not cluing you in on what exactly is happening,
Mhm.
even though that is our main character. So you have a protagonist who, from like the middle of the movie, you
Mhm.
don't trust, which that's creative. And there's like, but we're dealing with paper thin characters.
Right. From the
But
start.
they have some personality at the start too. That's the thing is like they
A
don't
little.
flesh that out. There's funny
Mhm.
lines from characters. You get bits here and there, but that's all you get. It's almost like, oh, I don't know if I want to be this dogmatic, but it's almost like Whedonization before Whedonization. Do you know what I mean? Like the
No, I know what you mean.
quippiness.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's uh you know what I mean. Do people at home know what I mean? So because of Joss
Joss
Whedon.
Whedon. Hmm.
Joss Whedon and his Avengers movies, that's kind of like the quippy nature of
Hmm.
superhero movies. How they all got quippy and they made funny jokes all the time, and it's more like catchphrases than dialogue stuff.
Hmm.
We talk about the Whedonization of scripting. That's what you talk about. But it's almost like that before that, where all these characters have are quips and funny lines. Some of them are great. Some of them
Hmm.
are funny. It's not like I'm sitting there annoyed. And like I even wrote down one of them because it was really funny, which was the stoner guy wants to fly them to the camp and they say no. And he says, "Thanks for thinking about it, though." And the way he
Yeah.
says it is so funny. Like I wrote it down. It's so funny.
Hmm.
Thanks for thinking about it, though. Like it's funny. Good job.
Yeah.
But like in those moments, and even in the ice thing, the the delivery of those lines is like not not conveying to me, the needy, pretentious person I am, what it needs to be. Like the oh my goodness, what is this? Is
Hmm.
kind of what it's like. Like
Hmm.
that's what the movie is.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's and there's nothing there. And like it could be a normal reading of those things.
hmm.
Like, oh my God, what is this? And the movie's like, shot,
Hmm.
wide shot,
Yeah.
wide shot. We're working on a budget, wide shot.
So basically, I
And
think,
the one guy's like, I think it's been here 100,000
yeah,
years. And
yeah.
that's that's what we're getting from this movie.
Hmm.
And 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 I think part of this, I'll be so honest, right,
Hmm.
is the other movies we've dealt with in on the show
Hmm.
that have their flaws but are good movies.
Hmm.
But then somehow this movie's like impeccable. Like this movie is, if I'm gonna sit here and hear you poo-poo Godzilla 1954, like this movie is equally on the level
See,
of
I knew
like
I knew there was going
you
to be some
can.
spite in
Well,
this.
no,
I knew that's what it
I
was.
hope it's not too much spite, but it's like, well, if we're gonna
Getting back at
act
me for
like
Godzilla. I knew it.
if we're gonna act like a Godzilla, like Godzilla 54 is this pretty imperfect
Yeah.
movie that has a couple redeeming
Mm.
characteristics.
Yeah. I
This
think,
is equally that, and it's only not treated that way because a ton of people have rewatched it a lot. And hold like if it holds up on rewatchability, good. But
yeah.
it's like, and because it's a John Carpenter movie, it's almost like, and hearing what people talk about this movie, it's almost like a Nolan adjacent thing where people are like, well, John Carpenter's a cinematic genius, and what he does in this movie. And it's like, oh, if you have to explain this to me in how he's a cinematic genius, oh no. And again, like this isn't a bad movie. This
So
isn't
I'm
bad.
gonna push the pause. I'm gonna put the
Yeah.
snooze button on the Andy thing here for a second, real quick. So I think for one thing, you need to understand, I think you've come at this with entirely the wrong expectation. And I knew when you
I
texted me last
expected it to
night.
be really good.
Yeah. Well, no,
Like I
no.
expected it.
You expected it to be
Can
really
I,
good for the wrong reason.
I expected it to be, and I think this is, like talk about expectations.
Mhm.
I expected, because this is what I think of when I think of top whatever movies. I
Mhm.
expected to be a really good, near perfect movie and whatever genre it is.
Mhm.
And that's not this movie.
So
This
that's the
movie
problem.
is a really good B movie, and that's all it is. It's not like to put it anywhere in, and I think you'll understand this because I think we talk about this. You put it anywhere near perfect movie conversation, and it's not there. And that's what, if you're talking top 10 of whatever genre, top five of whatever genre, you can be, they're perfect for what they are. And people, I don't know, maybe it's because I was expecting something better than what I got. I'm shrugging my shoulders.
So now that I let you cool off there, I let you get your little tirade out. So here's where we're at. So you were expecting the wrong thing. The reason this movie is well regarded is because of what it does in the visual effects. For the people that want to, no, we'll get to you in a second. For the people that want to throw this on John Carpenter's genius, I want you to know, and I hope you already knew this beforehand, but John Carpenter's not a genius in my opinion. John Carpenter's made one good movie, and it's this. And the only reason this movie's a good movie is because of Rob Bottin's special effects. It has really nothing to do with what the movie is. Now, what the story is an excellent story. What the characters are is effectively nothing. What the effects are great. What the cinematography is great. What the music is effective but simplistic because it's John Carpenter and he just goes boom, 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 boom. And it works. It's cool. And you're right.
It
If the
works as,
characters, yeah, it
yeah.
became iconic because of what it stands for. You think of what the movie is because of the sound. But if the characters were more, then you would have more suspense because you would have characters to care about. But the thing I think you were expecting was you were expecting this. I think because of what we've set up with the podcast so far, you were expecting basically Prisoners, but for the horror sci-fi community. You were expecting No Country for Old Men horror sci-fi, and that's not what this is. What this is a really, really, really well-made, basically effects reel that is suspenseful, but could be more suspenseful if you cared about the characters. And it is a good story, but the pacing is slow at the beginning. That's what the movie is. Now, I would push back that the movie is straight out a B movie because I think it's a notch above what a B movie is because obviously we have different issues with different things. But the movie became what it is because of what it did and how that holds up. And that's entirely to do with the effects surrounding the concept and the creativity inside of it, not so much the movie. Because take the effects away from this movie, and it's just a bunch of guys in an Antarctic research facility running from like a guy in a monster suit. Basically, you have Alien, and then that's just boring. And Alien, by the way, is a pretty rough watch for all the Alien fans out there. It's the only reason that movie works is because it has one shocking scene, the chest burster, and the alien design is iconic. If you take those two things away from it, Alien doesn't stand up either.
What's the visual effects guy's name?
Rob Bottin.
If it wasn't for Rob Bottin and
Hmm.
his immaculate effects,
Right.
near flawless
Hmm.
effects, no one would care about this movie.
Exactly.
Is a thought
Right.
that's been like, and that is, and we have not scratched the surface with that, and that's where hopefully I'll sound positive and happy about this movie.
Hmm.
But like, if that wasn't there and they weren't as good as they are,
Hmm.
like not like even something comparable, and if they weren't as like I'd say near perfect, I think, and this is where I'm able to identify my bias. I'm not a big whatever like stylistic vibe you want to call the
Hmm.
thing. I'm not big on that, but
So
that's like
you're not big
personal.
on body horror,
I'm not big
basically.
on body horror, and I'm not big on the like squishy, gory creature effects.
Yeah, body horror.
So I'm not big on that.
Hmm.
I really want to keep saying things that are just body horror, and you go, body horror.
Yeah, body horror. From the
When like
beyond,
the
body
what
horror.
like when like
Altered
their
states,
bodies
body
get
horror.
get mangled and
Right.
like kind of like in Malignant when she gets
Yeah.
all twisted.
Body horror. It's almost like Spotty Cats. Body horror.
Oh yeah. So
But so that's I kind of wanted to just realign where we're at here. If ever as you think about this movie further, or if you ever were to rewatch it, and you don't have to, because again, I don't care whether you like it or not. This podcast is to get you to see movies that you've never seen and see what you think about it. But I think going into the movie ex with high expectations aimed in the wrong direction. That's what I would say. If you aim them in the right direction, which is it's all effects and visuals and a little bit of suspense, then you're going to have a great time.
yeah.
If you go, I want more from these characters. Why is this guy not like a real person? What is, then you're not gonna, it's gonna be bad.
And I think it's just what you got like, I don't know. I think it's a fair guess, not just because of the show, but
Mhm.
because people like worship this movie.
Yeah.
And it's also the whole thing of like people worship this movie who also kind of look at you funny if you worship like if you're a big fan of other kind of silly movies,
Mhm.
right? And that's only because of the visual effects
Right.
and like the visual look of this movie, which by the way, I kind of meant to say this earlier on. The
Mhm.
fact that we are in sequential Dean Cundey movies is like mind-boggling that it's the same guy
Mhm.
and
Dean Cundy.
as the visuals are so good in this movie. Very like insert pretty much even though it's not a Dean Cundey movie, I'm pretty sure, but insert everything we said about the movie that the name is escaping me where the guy's running away, Harrison Ford.
Oh, The Fugitive. Yeah, it's not Dean
Fugitive.
Cundy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not Dean Cundey, but
No.
anything we said about the Fugitive, insert that in here. And
Mhm.
I mean the thing is like the visual effects are really good. We should talk about those. We should talk
Yeah.
about these visual effects.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've pretty well established what worked and what didn't work story-wise. The conversation to be had around the thing, and the whole reason I wanted you to watch it, really has nothing to do with what we've talked about yet. It has everything to do with the creatures and
Yeah.
how they were made and why they're spectacular and how they effectively started an entire subgenre. And there was a whole creature effects explosion that happened in the 80s because of this movie. So that's the conversation.
The
So for
thing,
the
yeah.
audience who has time traveled, skip to this point in the podcast if you want to hear like what the movie's actually about, which
Yeah.
is the Rubber Man.
It's incredible to me how, and I don't want to use the word realistic,
Hmm.
but how believable the effects are in this movie. There was a couple times where I went, "Oh, wait, this is a visual effects shot."
Right.
Right. Like when the tongue he sticks his tongue, the
Hmm.
thing
Yeah.
sticks its tongue out and it's like pulling itself away from the fire. It's just a
Hmm.
head for the
Yeah.
viewers at home. It's a guy's head and it like a chameleon tongue sticks out and
Hmm.
he's pulling himself by the bottom of a chair. And I went, "Oh, this is a pre-CGI
Hmm.
shot. What am I looking at? What's going on?"
Right.
Pretty much that whole scene
Hmm.
from he puts his hands into the chest and they get bit off. And from there on, it's
Well, so maybe for the benefit of the viewers, do you want to just kind of go in order of effect scene to effect scene and
yeah,
just kind of tell me, I'd love to get, because this is what I was most excited about. What were your reactions to each scene as they played out? Not the characters, not that we've established that, but like
we've
just the,
established what I didn't like.
right. Just the pure shock value of things that because I don't know what you knew happened and what you didn't know happened. So some of these twists and reveals
Yeah,
are going to be known. But so okay, the first thing I think is the twisted body in the fire. That's not so much an effect shot as it is just a prop. But I'm sure
yeah,
you were familiar with that prop. You probably saw.
kind of. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. That was kind of like, oh, this is weird.
Okay.
That's I liked the its legs are weird. It's got these
Hmm.
long, kind of bent legs.
Yeah, it's like
I
crab legs.
I liked that a lot.
Hmm.
I thought that was really neat.
And then the next thing is the dog in the kennel.
The
So
dog in the kennel
did you
was,
see any of that coming? Did you know the dog was an alien at that point?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
See,
Cause,
this is
cause
what
the
I
movie
mean.
showed me a flying saucer in the
Hmm.
first shot of the thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of
To
had a
be fair,
clue
though,
something was up.
to be fair, though, half the people that watch this that I've known who've watched it, by the time the thing with the dog happens, you kind of forget about the flying saucer. I agree it undercuts it, but half the audience also does forget about it.
See, and this is where
Because it is so like off the spine. It happens at first, and then you get into the story, and you're like, oh yeah, aliens.
I didn't know what I did know, I
Hmm.
didn't know the flying saucer. And so it stood out.
I see.
And so then it stayed in my mind.
Okay.
And then because I was like, oh man. And then it went away. And then it was the
Mm.
cool like credits of the thing.
Right.
And
So the dog gets in the
the
kennel
dog, and then
and
it like
explodes.
its face becomes a demogorgon, except before a demogorgon.
Yeah, made of tongues and tentacles shoot out and arms come out of it.
And I kind of was like, I don't think I had seen anything from this, and I was like, what? Ew, what? Ugh, ew. I think it's quite a surprise. And I mean, by that time you're like, okay, something's up with this dog. But
Hmm.
even then, I think it's a really interesting thing. And especially if you want to view it from the point of like you don't know anything that's going to go on with this movie.
Hmm.
If the first you're like, oh, it's aliens, it's weird, this dog, maybe it's going to trans like transform. It was an alien disguise, which it is, but then it
Hmm.
transforms by tearing itself apart,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Is like, oh my gosh. But it was cool. It
Hmm.
was well done. That's who did those ones? It was another guy. Stan
The
Winston
Stan
made the
Winston
dog,
helped
right?
made yes, yeah, he made the dog because Botine's team was completely swamped trying to do everything else. So they made the dog. And the dog, the main puppet for the dog, like the hairless one, once it's like really goopy, it's just a hand puppet. It's a guy like doing this through the floor. That's all it is.
It's so fun. It's so simple, but it works so well.
Hmm.
I think I think that scene's neat. I love the big arms. I wish the
Hmm.
big arms were more a part of what the thing were that come and like reach up
Hmm.
and
See, what's
get it.
funny is I had a feeling you'd like the big arms because the big arms are my least favorite part of that scene because they're the most like just they're the most Godzilla part of the scene. Honestly, they're like just these big
I
clunky
like
arms
Big
that kind of go
Monster.
right. You like Big Monster, I don't. So like I liked all the amorphous stuff, and then when the arms happen, I'm like, I don't really like the arms. And you're like, arms good. So
Arms are
I knew we
cool.
were gonna have like that dichotomy there, but
I what else about that? I don't know. When they immediately torch it, it's like,
mhm,
okay,
yeah.
this is where the movie's going.
Mhm.
Um,
I think after that it's when it gets Fuchs and he's like half transformed, and then they run out after him.
that part of the movie, yes.
Yeah.
I think when it gets him, it's creepy and kind of
Hmm.
weird, kind of like green
Like
slimy,
the hands
you
and
know,
yeah.
it's but then he runs out and the hands part is creepy.
Hmm.
But to my point about it being a really good B movie, when
Hmm.
he like roars, if we cut
Yeah.
that out, I'd cut that out because that's just goofy. It's the one
There's
part
some
of this
interesting
movie.
sound effects in this movie, some interesting
It's the
choices.
it's the one part of this movie where I'm like, that just was kind of campy, corny, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
Like that did not need to happen. Or if you're gonna make him like, bleh, you're gonna make him
Mm.
make a sound, don't make it this like roar
Mm.
with lots of reverb. It's like, okay, and then they burn him. The
Right.
creepy hands are cool though.
Yeah, the hands are
The
great.
movie never does that again. And I'm kind
Yeah.
of bummed by that, where it you catch the thing mid transformation.
Mm. Yeah, it never does the same thing twice. And then
I
I
have a
think, oh, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the movie explains what the thing does, and this is
Mm.
another. If I was, if old Johnny called me up back in '81 when he was working on this film, and I read the script, the movie explains what the thing does by a computer running a
Yeah. And a
simulation.
computer, there's no way a computer would know this
Yeah,
in the 80s or even really now. It's
it's
just a
like
plot
he's
device.
asking ChatGPT
Right.
in 1982
Hmm.
about what's going on in his
Well,
current situation.
yeah. In the
And
80s,
that's
computers were magic.
it's kind of this like it's most dated part of the movie. The
Mm.
I will defend the practical effects till the day I die, but the
And
most
Wilford
dated
Brimley. Wilford
Wilford
Brimley
Brimley.
is like the biggest comic relief in that whole movie.
Pretty much. Yeah. I don't know. The chef guy who's like, which one of you put your drawers in the
Which one of you
garbage?
disrespectful men put your dirty drawers in the waistband?
It's like I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this guy,
Mm.
but that I don't even remember where I was. I'll be
We
honest.
were moving from effect shot to effect shot, and I think the
And
next one up is
dated
probably
computer. The
the computer.
computer explaining.
Yeah.
I never really got because part of this movie, it's suspenseful, it's confusing, but you're never quite sure what the thing is doing,
Hmm.
which I think works really well. I
It's
think
replicating. It's
I
just
almost
surviving.
wouldn't have like included that. I would have maybe just had it be the guy with the wireframe glasses
Hmm.
telling Kurt Douglas, not Kurt Douglas,
Nope. Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, telling Kurt Russell like this thing's a the cells are still alive and
Hmm.
left out the thing at the computer because it being like a highly contagious
Hmm.
disease. I guess that does make sense because then they don't want to get out, but
Right.
it leaves a
That's
ton of almost plot holes that also make the movie just confusing.
what plot
Like
hole does it make?
they all carry the body.
Hmm.
If this thing is oozing
Yeah.
little things, then
Hmm.
they all should have it,
Yeah.
which makes it like suspense, but also don't they all have it? Question mark? What? Huh? What? Like I just it's not clear. And or
Yeah.
can it be trans and like they should could have made it more ambiguous instead of being like I don't know,
Well,
the little bit they
in
did.
order for it, so each cell lives, but each cell clearly takes a little bit of time to actually infect a host. It doesn't happen instantaneously like a virus. So, in order for you to carry it somewhere, you're fine. If it starts to like burrow into your skin, you know it. So, them carrying the thing wrapped in a blanket somewhere is not really a problem. But to your point about stakes earlier, telling us, hey, if you guys leave Antarctica and only one of you has it, that's going to be the whole world. That's like an important
That is
thing to know.
important.
Right.
Chat GPT tells us that in this movie.
ChatGPT tells us what we need to know.
Chat DVD.
1982 Chat DVD.
But it so yeah. But there okay, so then it's
So then let's skip to the big set piece. The big, yeah, the guy has a heart attack and they go to give him the defibrillators. Was this something you were aware of? Because
it
unfortunately, I was the first time I watched it, so there was no surprise.
I was after the hands chomped. I was like, "Oh, I've seen this." Yeah.
Okay, good,
So it was in the moment. It was like, "Whoa. Oh, yeah."
good.
Was kind of the
At least there was that.
so that happens and then they start to burn him and his head like oozes off
Yep, it rips
really
off and tries to
long and it's
escape.
by that's cool. See like that
Hmm.
all that stuff it's like immaculate, wonderful,
Hmm.
great, having a blast. Awesome job movie.
Hmm.
I don't know, it's this like visceral, what am I watching? Especially because it's 82, like
Hmm.
how what is going on? It's done very well. I
Hmm.
love it.
Did you, I don't know how far you researched or how much you already knew. When the guy gets his arms chopped off, you know how they accomplish
Hmm.
that. Yeah, tell the viewers how they accomplish that.
So they had a double amputee who put on a mask that was, is it Wilford Brimley's character who gets his arms bit off?
No,
No, it's not.
it's Copper, the other
Other
old
old
guy.
guy.
Yeah.
See about characters, guys?
Yep.
Anyways,
I always called him little baby man because he looks like an old baby. The proportions of his face, he's got a tiny little nose and tiny little squished up face, but he's like 55. I just always called him baby man.
okay, so little baby man
Little baby man
gets
gets
his
chomped.
arms chomped off
Hmm.
because as he goes to defibrillate what he thinks is other old guy number three,
Hmm. Yeah.
he the a mouth opens up from the old man number three's chest, chomps off little baby man's arms. And how they accomplished this was they had a guy who had no arms put his hands in and then go, ah, with the
Mhm.
mask on. And I think
Yeah.
it's wonderful and it works great.
Yeah. So the arms that are in
Also, the
there,
idea to have like a double amputee
yeah.
is crazy. Like
Well,
that's
because you can put fake arms on him with wax bones. And then when he goes in there, you can have a literal pneumatic piston just chomp those arms off, and then he just rips them out because they're not real arms. It's great. It's all one take. There were guys under the
genius.
table, like operating things, and then there was a guy at the other end of the table for the head coming off, and he was like just pushing his body weight into it so that it would stretch the head. And inside the head, they had like melted plastic and bubble gum and other stuff that would like string out bubble gum, like actual like chewed bubble gum that they stuck in there, and other like hoses full of stuff. And in that scene, the body is full of so many different compounds that it's giving off these really noxious fumes. And right before they roll, the script supervisor goes, "Hey, isn't he supposed to be on fire? If we're getting this close up of the face, shouldn't there be like fire in the foreground?" They're like, "Oh, yeah, sure." Somebody flies in a little flame bar, and the minute they light it, the whole thing explodes because the compounds they had in it were flammable. So they put it out, and then John Carpenter's like, "Well, crap. All right, let's do it again." And Botine's like, "Well, we only made one." And he's like, "Well, we need to film this tonight." So then they worked all night long to try to make another one. So what you're seeing, the chest that you're seeing with the chest hair and it's like perfectly realistic, that was the second try under duress. We'll never know what the first try looked
Wow.
like, but it was probably more immaculate even than that.
That's crazy. So, do you want to tell the folks at home a bit about Rob Bottin?
Sure.
Just like who he is?
Yeah. So Rob Bottin was kind of a child prodigy. He was, and I'm sure you probably already know this, but for the viewers at home, he was, I believe, 14 when he showed Rick Baker, who was like legendary makeup effects artist, showed him some drawings that he made. And Rick Baker wrote him back and said, "I don't believe you. There's no way a 14-year-old draws this well. Let's meet." And then he saw that he could draw that well and sculpt. And he went, "You're hired. You're coming with me now. You're going to like live with me now and you're going to work for me." So at the time in the late 70s, Rick Baker had kind of a scrappy little team of like 17 to 19-year-olds that worked for him. They were all super talented, one of which was Bottin, another of which was a man called Steve Johnson, who later in this podcast in the coming months we'll hear a lot more about. But Rob Bottin was like insanely good. He was helping him on American Werewolf in London when Joe Dante called him to help him on The Howling. So what's funny is Rob Bottin and Rick Baker actually ended up doing two very similar effects for werewolf transformations around the same time. And right after he finished that, he caught wind that uh, John Carpenter was making a remake of The Thing from Another World, and so he volunteered to help on it. When he did all the effects for this movie, he was 21. He worked like 20 hours a day. He would sleep on set. He lived on, I think, like candy bars and like Coke or Pepsi or something. When the movie was done, he checked himself into a hospital for exhaustion. He never, ever worked that hard ever again. But it's amazing. Like all that youth, all that ambition, all that raw talent is up on the screen. Rick Rob Bottin was kind of notorious for his perfectionism. And on The Howling, he would sculpt a perfect werewolf head. And then he'd take a sledgehammer and smash it because he could do better. And then he'd sculpt another even better werewolf head. And Steve Johnson would look at him and be like, "Dude, it's perfect. What's wrong with it?" He's like, "I don't like it." And he'd smash it again and he'd do a third one even better. So you can imagine how it went on The Thing that you're constantly pushing in this direction. And all of the stuff they were doing, he didn't really know how to do until he did it. They would just figure it out because nothing like this had ever been done before. So it was all innovation. That's for the viewers at home. If you've been sleeping through this much of the podcast, that's what you need to take away from the movie
Yes.
is
Yeah.
is the makeup effects and the presentation.
It is,
That is the
and it's
movie.
shot so well. I
Hmm.
think like you couple that with even the mundane, maybe not even Rob Bottin's work
Hmm.
of like, I mean, I'm thinking of a shot after the first major kill of one of the crew members. We were just
Hmm.
talking about this scene where like the body kind of grabs one of the crew members. There's like a shot of his blood, like
Hmm.
his clothes, and it's shot with this like blue gel light.
Yeah.
That's just like, oh my goodness, Dean Cundy.
Hmm.
That's so good. Why don't you just keep making Bigfoot movies? But it's really it's a really well shot, well composed, well planned. Like everything we say on the show about the movies that are great are
Hmm.
because talented people worked on them and they planned them. And even in moments when it was like, oh shoot, we have to do it all over again, they
Hmm.
had the expertise to then on site do what they needed to do.
Exactly.
So that is what is. truly enjoyable about this movie.
Did you catch the little bit of stop motion that made it into the movie?
Yes, the tentacles.
The
And I
tentacles.
heard there was like a whole scene that they scrapped because
Yeah.
Carpenter was like, eh,
Yeah.
about
The
it.
the Blair
So
monster. There was a whole like 2 foot tall stop motion Blair monster that they made. Because at the end, we find out that Wilford Brimley in we don't that's another thing. We don't really know, and the movie does this on purpose a bit. We don't know how much time has passed ever. You're never really sure if it's like a day, a couple hours, a few weeks. But they lock Wilford Brimley up in a shack after he goes nuts. And when they go out to get him, he's apparently had enough time to dig in solid ice, by the way, this impossibly complex labyrinth of tunnels under the facility, and also make a custom spaceship from parts that clearly don't exist at the. But we're gonna skip past that.
and the character's reaction to this, oh
Hmm.
dang, look at
Yeah,
that.
he's been busy. Well, again, up to this point, you've seen a guy's head stretch off and crawl across the floor. Like, I think
Yeah,
we can
that's
afford them
hey.
that.
Yeah.
But there's no way he made that ship like in that amount of time. But the point is, Wilford Brimley's like a monster made of every other monster that's ever come before. And we get a really cool shot where like he sticks his hands in a guy's face and just drags him across the floor.
That's dope. That's
That
dope.
was sweet. And
And
I mean,
then
you
there's
can
a
you can tell that that's like how they accomplished that, right?
he what do you mean? Like they did like there's like, okay, put your
Yeah, but I
hand.
mean, like how he was able to get his fingers under the skin, which would be very difficult. It's just reverse photography. You start him in, and then you pull him out.
There's a ton of just reverse
Yeah, the
photography in
tongue is
this. That's
reverse
great.
photography.
Yeah.
The tentacles coming out is reverse photography.
But
But
they do that, and then there's another shot a little bit later of him dragging,
yeah,
and it's
constraining.
just his face. It's great.
And it's like
I
a second long. Like blink and you miss
like,
it, but it's so creepy because he's just dragging him
yeah.
by his face. Yeah, and then he busts out of the floor, and then the dogs come out of his stomach, and then there's like a mouth on the side of his head that makes the exact same King Kong sound as in the original King Kong, that like like that thing, which is super another really bad sound bite in my opinion. I was
Yeah.
never a fan of that sound bite because I'm like,
I
oh,
also
it's
didn't
King Kong.
notice till I was like watching clips on YouTube today that it's the
Mhm.
guy's face and then a monster head out of the
Yeah,
side.
on the
I
side.
just noticed the monster head on the side,
Yeah.
and I felt like an idiot.
And two like mantis arms on the
I did
side
notice
and
the mantis arms,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Which
then
you got to buy into this movie,
mhm.
and I don't want to nitpick, but if it can just do that, why
Mhm.
wasn't it just doing that against the helicopter
Against the helicopter?
in the beginning of the movie?
What do you mean
Why was he
against
running
the
away as a
helicopter?
dog? Why
Well,
wasn't he
because
just
the
turning into a big
so
old
and we
monster?
established
He
this
can
back
turn in.
during
Did
the
we?
blood test. Yeah. During the blood test, we established that what it wants to do is hide. It just wants to assume a form and continue, and it wants to preserve itself. It doesn't want to have to fight back.
That's fair.
So the dog's going to run away. Also, the helicopter's way up there. The dog would have to grow really large to get to the
Well, it
helicopter.
can grow anything.
Well, with the right amount of mass. Remember,
uh,
Blair, there is a bit of logic to
So,
it.
and it needs to assume the part of this is just me figuring out what the heck
Yeah.
actually is this movie. It's kind of like my dad talking about Malignant. It's
Yeah.
half of this is me going, wait,
So if you've got Blair and he just absorbed the other guy, the other black guy, and the Colonel, now you've got the mass of 3 people plus
okay,
whoever else he pulled in. So now you can be whatever. But if you're a dog,
you're just a
okay,
dog.
you can pancake and you can get really wide. I don't know how long you can get if you wanted to like reach up and grab a helicopter out
Or it
of the
just
sky.
goes.
Yeah, like an egg
Um,
dog, it just smears.
the blood scene,
Hmm.
probably the best part of this movie, besides the creature effects,
I wondered how you feel about the blood scene.
partially because it made me jump. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
They're going through, and I'm not scared by jump scares very
Mhm.
often. This is barely a jump scare. But when he like goes to put the flame and it's like, I
Yeah,
was
and
like,
the
ah,
blood jumps.
yeah. And I was like, oh, it got me. Dang it.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Now, did there is right after that, there's an unfortunate dummy effect where when the guy bites down on Window's head and then Windows is like kicking around and like it's just little dummy legs that are kind of like moving around.
Yeah.
It's got a
I think
charm.
that's not the problem with
Yeah.
this movie. Like, I think if that's your nitpick,
Hmm.
uh,
Well, again, when we're
you're
talking about effects, we've already
barking up the wrong
established what you
tree.
don't like about the movie. We're talking about effects.
I think it's in such a scary actually like okay, we've had a moment with this small group of characters. We
Hmm.
kind of know how everyone feels. We've clocked that, as the kids would say.
I see.
That then it's like, "Oh my goodness, actually reads and actually matters to the point
Mhm.
where doll legs, you could have
See,
done something.
the doll legs bug me, but it's still a great scene. The doll legs do bug me though. From day one, they bugged me. But it is what it is. You got a certain amount of budget. But the blood jumping out of the cup. Did you, I don't
It
know,
was
in your
spoopy.
research,
I
did you
didn't
find out
research.
how they did it? Do you want
No.
to hazard a guess about how they did the blood jumping out?
Are we talking about the when it's in the
When it's in the
thingy
petri
and that?
dish and he pokes it and it jumps. Obviously, when
Hmm.
it's on the floor, they're just tilting the floor along with the camera to get it to like slide around.
I don't know.
So what they did, and it's genius, is you've got this petri dish, and inside the petri dish is effectively kind of a warped like balloon in the shape of like the sprung up shape of what it's going to be, right?
Hmm.
And it's deflated in the petri dish. So when you pump it with air really fast, it'll go flirt like that, right? And pop up. But then here's the problem. You have nowhere to run the tubes that they're not in the shot. So they went, you know what? We'll just make a fake hand and run the tubes through the center of the hand. So that's not a real hand. It's the entire hand isn't Kurt Russell's hand. It's a fake arm, fake hand, petri dish, and then the little bladder that does that. So his arm is down and they just poke
That's genius. Where have all the people gone that came up with those ideas? That's what I want to know.
it. Well, in 99 or 2001, I think Rob Bottin retired and went into real estate. Rick Baker retired in, I think, 2017 or
Rob
thereabouts.
Bottin went into real estate.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, you kind of like peaked early. You did The Thing at 21, and then you did Total Recall a few years later. And then everything in the 90s pretty much just started going downhill. He worked on Fight Club, but there's not like a lot of need for him to be on Fight Club. And he just went, well, the industry's kind of changing, so I'm going to get out.
I
And
guess that's
Steve
fair.
Johnson, if you actually take Steve Johnson's autobiography as truth, which is kind of gonzo in that sense, he apparently fled to Costa Rica and paid a guy to break into his workshop and steal all his stuff and then sell it off at a 50-50 split so he could get out of the industry. But I don't know how much of that is true.
Wow.
So that's what happened to those guys. They're all out of the biz because computers took over.
It's a shame. It's really a shame. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to talk about this movie. What else I wanted to say. What else I had to get off my chest.
Yeah.
I think that's like the majority of it. I mean,
Hmm.
there's more visual effects shots that are great,
Yeah.
that really are. I think the matte paintings in this movie, for the most part, are really good. There's a couple
Mhm.
that are like not as good, but that's a matte painting.
I love the matte painting. I think it might be a matte painting and miniature combo where they're looking at the ship because there's moving light, like the clouds are moving and casting shadows over it, and it's like warping
Yeah,
over. And I think that kind of makes that shot. Like it works really well. And you also got to remember how difficult it is to optically composite white on white because your white balance has to be so dialed in. Like if it's off even by a hair, it's a
that's
little bit
crazy.
too
So,
yellow, you know.
so translation, because I want to make sure the one little bit of listener feedback I've gotten has
Hmm.
been sometimes I'm completely lost by what you guys are saying. I think s- I'll only deal with what we just said. Is um so before digital effects, do you want to explain layman's terms, or should I try to explain in layman's terms? Because I'm more of a layman than you are.
I'd like to hear you explain it. Yeah.
So before
Big
the
data.
days of computers, when you had to add certain types of visual effects together, um, and adding elements together in movies is called comping.
Yeah, compositing.
It's compositing. Thank you. I
Hmm.
did not. I was thinking of composition, and I knew that was the wrong word. Yeah, it's compositing. And before computers, you had to do that optically. And what that
Right.
means is you had to do it using only the light of the film because that's how film works. I'm going to hazard a guess that you understand that, dear listener, and I cannot explain it to you any further than that necessarily. So, but it's when you're optically compositing, it's harder because as opposed to like getting a preview in a computer that then you can fiddle with before you export, it's like all done. Think of it like taking a Polaroid,
Yeah,
right?
it's
You get
film.
one shot. It's film. It's
What you
how it
see is
works.
what you get.
And so optical compositing is a lot more difficult on many, many levels than compositing is these days. And compositing these days is getting easier and easier with AI and things like that. So it's easier to combine elements and add elements, as far as I know.
Technically, AI isn't there yet. No one's actually using it for compositing because AI can't composite. AI can only duplicate footage at a lower resolution. So
What
right
about
now, it's
things
not
that
necessarily
like,
manual.
what about like what Final Cut Pro can do though? Because Final Cut Pro can like cut people out.
Yeah, that's rotoscoping, but that's not compositing
Okay,
itself.
fair enough.
Compositing is to make a composite image, to take more than one image and turn them into one and join them. So the reason why I pointed out the snow and the white balance in this movie in particular is because anybody who's shot on an iPhone or anything that auto white balances, you'll notice that like the white in a scene can look more blue or more yellow or more red depending on what the light is. And for the listeners at home, I know you, Andy, understand this concept. When you're optically compositing, you're taking some film and you're shooting some guys walking on some snow, like maybe in February. But then that film doesn't actually get composited optically with the rest of the stuff you shot until months later. And the problem is white balance on film can change for two different reasons. One, it can change just because of whatever color the light was when you filmed it. So if you film it on a sunny day, it's going to be kind of warm. You film it on a cloudy day, it's going to be kind of cold. But the problem is, okay, maybe you want a cold light, so you film it on a cloudy day. You think, all right, I did my job, I did my research, we're going to be safe. But if that film sits too long or it's not kept properly, the film will yellow, even though it's not developed yet. And then you try to composite it, and now your white balance is off because now there's a little section of the film that's yellow compared to everything else, and it's going to immediately give away the edges of that composite. So what they would do in the old days is they would actually put the film in a fridge or a freezer to try to stop things from getting to it. And they'd seal it up in a canister, and then that way it would preserve it a bit so that they could get a little more time out of it. But once you composited it, that was it. You have to start all over again if it wasn't right. And of course, there's registration problems because this is a physical media going through a physical thing physically. So the sprocket holes may not align perfectly, and if you're off by even a fraction of a millimeter, things are going to wiggle. So all this to say, to do a composite back then was hard. And that's why not a lot of people did many composites back then. And that's why, like when we discussed uh, the gate a couple weeks back, they didn't do really any composites because it was just better and produced a better result and a more controllable result to just do force perspective or to do things in camera.
Yeah, and if you're with this whole white balance thing, if you're an iPhone user and you go to your settings or
Hmm.
your photos and you go to like adjust the settings of your photo, you go to the warmth slider. Sorry for my Android users, I don't know. You go to the warmth and you can fiddle with that white balance. It gets more yellow or it gets more blue.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, and if you've done anything with photography, you know about white
Hmm.
balance. Hopefully, no shade if you have done stuff with photography and
Full
don't know what I'm
shade.
talking about.
Full shade.
All the shade.
All the
But
shade.
yeah, and it's extremely difficult. And so even that's part of the artistry of older films because even the stuff that can look kind of boring in
Hmm.
from today's perspective was a feat at the
Yeah.
time of the film being made and produced. Kind of pretty much a lot of your what would be done by green screen these days is compositing. Would have also been done as like rear projection, but that's
Mhm.
kind of
Rear
another thing.
projection, blue screen in the 80s, they were doing blue screen, which is the same thing as chroma key. The real interesting one that we'll get into at a completely different time because this episode's already gone long, but there was a front projection process that was real popular in the 80s and 90s, which yielded a better result. And you could actually see it when you looked through the viewfinder. You could see it in real time. It was really
Isn't
cool.
that what they did on The Fugitive?
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit. Yeah. They did that on The Fugitive. They did it on a
And
lot
it
of stuff.
looks so good.
Looks
Like
fantastic.
front projection looks incredible. So,
So let's
okay,
wrap it up.
I don't know if I liked it, which is probably the closest I'll get to saying like, oh, I don't like it when it's clearly like a really bad movie.
Hmm.
But this isn't a really bad movie. Out of 10, if I was to grade this movie,
Hmm.
it probably would be like a 6
That's what I
because the
expected.
because the visual effects give it so much.
Hmm.
So much.
So
Um,
do you want to do I mean, 6 is your rating. We'll go with
yeah.
that. The caveat here, just for being thorough. When we talked about Malignant, we had like two scales. One was like its entertainment value. The other was, what it was. Because Malignant as a movie is like a 4 or 5. It's like completely nonsensical. Entertainment value is like through the roof. So this movie, it's like, okay, for you, entertainment value and what it was, it's a 6, it's a 5, it's whatever. Visual effects wise, though, it's clearly a higher rating.
I mean, yeah, visual effects wise, I unapologetically and need to think about a little harder, but say it's top 10
For sure.
ever.
Yeah. And that's a distinction I just wanted to make clear for the
Yeah.
audience. It's like, as much as Andy did not enjoy a lot of the story elements of this movie or the execution of certain characters, the visuals is really what it's all about.
The technicality of this film is
Mhm.
as high as I can give a movie,
Right.
really. And everything else is kind of say it's just not my thing. And I think the hype around this movie is kind of what got to me.
Yeah. When you texted me last night, I knew that this is exactly the case. I wasn't exactly sure what like the precise criticisms would be, but I knew exactly why you thought what you thought. The minute, like,
Yeah.
I mean, the second I read the text, I was like, I know what's up. I know what it is.
Yeah. I wanted to prepare you because I didn't just want to be like, you'd be like, oh, I can't wait to have a fun time, and then maybe just squawking. So,
Well, obviously,
and
this
it,
does not have your heart, so we
yeah,
know
it
that.
does not. It
Hmm.
does. Unfortunately, it does not. Um, and that's been the episode.
Hmm. So I think for me, I think I rated this an 8 on IMDb. I think that was my rating. And again, that's mostly for what it is, not for what it isn't. Um, and for me, does it have my heart? I think it does because of, oh my gosh, every time the cat jumps off me, he always almost yanks the earbuds out.
We got to get you some wireless
I
earbuds,
think
I
so,
think.
yeah. But then I'd lose this sweet speaker,
Your birthday's coming
the
up.
little microphone. Oh yeah, my birthday that's always a month away. Um, but I think for me, I think it has my heart for what it did for film. And it's a Halloween tradition for me for what it is, but it's not, I think it barely qualifies as having my heart, but I give it like an 8.
I think this is the first movie we've talked about that has your heart. And I think it's really funny because it's the first one I've like openly
Oh no,
disliked.
no, no. It's not the first one.
Well,
Fugitive had my
Fugitive,
heart.
yeah.
Napoleon Dynamite,
But that's yet to make the
Prisoners,
light. Yeah, that's it. I
right.
guess that's fair.
Yeah,
I
I'd
don't know if
say
you gave Prisoners your heart, but
think I
you
can't remember
probably
if I
did.
did. I probably did. And I think I can't remember what I said on The Gate, but I love The Gate just because it's
You were
ridiculous.
reluctant with the last couple,
Yeah.
with Malignant and The Gate. And I mean, not Creature from Black Lake. That was
Yeah,
not,
Creature
I
from
think,
Black Lake
anywhere on
was a
the
whole
table.
other thing.
But Dean Cundey strikes again.
King Country Strikes Again.
And
It is pouring down rain.
wow, I can't hear it one
I
bit.
know, but it's loud right now.
So we're gonna keep this spooky season in full swing. And I think I'm gonna have you watch the 2017 film The Ritual
Okay.
because it's a spooky movie I watched a couple years ago and you haven't seen it. And
All right.
I'll rewatch it. It's on Netflix. We'll figure it out how we're gonna watch it and we'll watch it. I want to rewatch it. I remember having a good time watching this movie. So I'm interested to see what it's like on the rewatch. Is that it? Is that the whole episode?
I think that's it. What did you say the thing you normally say when we wrap up?
Oh,
Subscribe and like and tell it to a friend, and then if they don't
like
like
and
it, push them down the
subscribe. Yeah,
stairs.
like and subscribe. And if your friends don't like the show, they're not your real friends. I'm smiling. You can't see it.
Yeah.